When people say, well, I don't have 10 minutes, it's like, oh, you do have 10 minutes. Or I don't have an hour to work out. Oh, you could. Just where are your priorities, right? And so that all funnels down and comes back to change. And what are you willing to do? On today's episode of the Healing Works podcast, we talk about change and how we can implement change, but really discuss why people think change is hard and why it could be, but how it can be so easy. So we hope this resonates with you and we hope you enjoy. Welcome back to the Healing Works podcast. Today, again, it's Altee and I. So love having guests on, but we want to do, a balanced approach where, we talk about some of the things we want to convey, and then, other times let guests run with their information and promote them. But today we want to talk about change. That's how the Joker said it.
I was like, I don't know that reference. Dang it.
I know. I'm like, this is pop culture reference this weekend, but change. That's Heath Ledger's Joker. Really good job. But anyway, talking about change, why it eludes a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of, and how do we start the process of change, and why is change so hard? So we'll dive into that today. This is a topic that I really like because it's all encompassing, but we want to get down to some of the points on how we start changing, and with that, why it's so difficult for most people to change. I guess I should have done that in reverse order, right? Why it's so difficult for a lot of people to change, and the points on how we do change. Okay. There we go. That's better. Now we feel better.
Okay.
But yeah, changing in a whole, most, the phrases are, most people are afraid of change. Change is hard. We'll get into it, but I don't think it's honestly that hard.
Yeah.
And let's talk about it. So change is mostly hard because of ingrained neural patterns and or habits, right? Mm-hmm. Habits are your ingrained neural patterns on things that you've done over and over again, emotions that you have felt, thoughts that you have thought over and over again until they become hardwired neural patterns in the brain. So it's not just like you do things just because. It's a literal program that you're running, right? We talk a lot about the subconscious and subconscious programming. That's basically one and the same. Mm-hmm. All your subconscious programming is hardwired neural networks in the back of the brain. And they fire in unison when you are doing something very similar, right? Mm-hmm. And so you are going to be governed by your neural patterns or by your beliefs. And that's why it's not just like, oh yeah, change, or it's not like, hey, think positively. I mean, even Tony Robbins now is calling out. He says, that's bullshit. Mm-hmm. I like when he says that. Mm-hmm. I've said a lot of shits too the last couple of days. So if I was fined by the FCC, no, it's really the effort, but I wouldn't say that either. But, Tony Robbins calls that out, and he's like, when people tell you to think positive, that's complete bullshit. Mm-hmm. Because it is, right? Because it's like, well, I'm going off of my neural pattern. Okay. So, with the subconscious programming, obviously, we talk about that a lot, but the subconscious programming, that subconscious is 1,000,000 times stronger than your conscious awareness. And not only that, but then the breakdown of the percentages where you stay most of the day. I mean, some people say 95 to 99% in subconscious. Well, not some, most say 95 to 99% in the subconscious, meaning 1 to 5% conscious awareness. So if you blend that average, you're like 97 versus 3. Mm-hmm. Bruce Lipton always says, do the math when he goes high.
Why is it so hard to change? Math. Do the math.
Yeah. Why is it so hard to change? Do the math.
That 3% override that 97%. It just doesn't work.
Or yeah, it works 3% of the time. But if you were successful, like right, if you said you went to the gym and 3% of the time it was effective,
You get
right?
discouraged.
Yeah. If the good food that you ate, you only ate good food 3% of the time, how would that result? Not very good. If you only slept good 3% of the time, how well would that go? And it's not that 97% of the time is bad.
Right.
Right. Let's break that down too, because it's estimated by the neuroscientists. These are people smarter than us, so listen to them. But it's estimated that 70% of the programs in your subconscious are either negative, limiting, or self-sabotaging. So you have that 27% variance of doing things that are beneficial to you, right? All of us do habits on a daily basis that are serving, that serve us for growth, that serve us for higher potential, that serve us for new possibility.
That we like.
That are
we
happy
learned,
programs.
Yeah, that we learned.
That
maybe
we
in our
enjoy
family.
doing. Yes. So we're all made up of, programs that we like, that we,
That are working in our favor.
that work in our favor. Thank you. But the other part of those, the 70%, which still outweighs it, are negative, limiting, and self-sabotaging. They are conditioned responses that isn't necessarily your makeup of beliefs. They were basically indoctrinated or
learned
by osmosis or learned from your environment, right? From parents, from teachers, from the school, from church, from, wherever it is that, you grew up. And so when I say, change, really not that hard, it's choice and decision. Right.
Well, change is only hard, I think, if you don't know the formula to do it.
Right.
So when you're working against the grain like that, and you're looking at those statistics of 97 versus 3 or 70%, then it's like, that's a lot of effort. But if you know the formula to it, then it's not hard at all.
And I guess and I'm glad you said that. So when you're listening, you're not like, well, if the percentages aren't in my favor, then it is hard. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. But when we start changing those percentages, which those percentages aren't that difficult to change. Now there's ways of doing it that are more difficult than others, like sheer willpower and determination, right? That's when stuff's hard.
Repetition over a long period of time, a great amount of effort and grit and willpower. Like you said, that change can happen.
That's exhausting. But that's exhausting, right? So that's where people relay it to being hard.
Right.
Because it's like, well, holy crap, if I have to do that, 8 hours a day, every day to start changing my makeup of my subconscious beliefs, then I don't have that much time during the day because
willing,
right.
So
but it's really when we start working with, especially how we approach it, with the energetic work that literally dissolves those beliefs sometimes instantaneously.
Well,
right?
it liberates the emotion that's tied to the belief, and the thing that gives it real power is that emotion. So when you take a belief, it's a thought or an idea attached to an emotion of maybe insecurity or whatever, the list of emotions that we use, and we prune those apart by identifying it and liberating it from the body with intention and giving it an escape point to leave the body. Then you free up that space. It's like deleting a file on a computer. It's like we're deleting that file. Now what do you want to put in that place? That's not hard.
No.
It's just a matter of what do you want and what's happening in your life. What program are you living by that you're noticing is not serving you?
Well, and a lot of one of our good friends says choose your heart all the time too. I don't think he invented that, which I know he didn't invent that.
No.
But a lot of people say choose your heart because it's like it could be hard either way. If you're going to, you could say change is hard. Well, compared to what? Like you could look at, let's say, let's first say emotionally and mentally. You can say it's hard to feel, to shift your, your emotional state to gratitude or love or compassion or care. But you could also say, well, it's really hard on you to stay in negativity and frustration and anger and pain
to be a
and
victim
sorrow.
of your circumstances.
Yeah. Thoughts, it's, it's hard for me to imagine things. Well, that's because your frontal cortex is shut off because you're so stressed out.
Right.
So let's improve that. But you could also say, well, it's hard for me to go to the gym, or it's hard for me to don't even have to go to the gym, but it's hard for me to get, exercise in or get my 8,000 steps in or, eat good food,
or feel comfortable in a social setting or
well, hold on.
sorry.
It's hard to eat better. It's hard to exercise. It's hard to do those things. Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be hard as life progresses and your body starts decaying, right? And, your joints, your limbs, that cortisol production and that bad food and the lack of exercise is really going to start to affect you later in life. So the point is, well, which one's harder?
Right.
Going, making a new habit and going to the gym regardless, or exercising 5 out of the 7 days, regardless of what you're doing, or what's going on, which one's harder, right?
Well, and we talked about in the previous episode, we didn't cover this when we were talking about it, but, when we were talking about setting your morning up and doing the non-negotiables of your heart focused breathing and your grounding, taking 10 minutes to do that doesn't cost very much time or effort, but people spend a lot of time attending to their sicknesses and illnesses and diseases.
Keep talking. I'm going to look something up.
Oh, okay. That was all I was going to say about that. But I'll try to elaborate a little bit more. No, but really, I mean, it's like, I don't have time to do that, but it's like, you will prioritize your health. You can take that 10 minutes in the morning and get yourself balanced and grounded and try to handle that inflammation yourself, or that inflammation can lead to another injury or another illness or another disease, and you'll be attending to it.
Right.
Mark my words, you'll be attending to it.
Well, yeah. And I mean, look, we've coached a lot of people, and I have heard a lot of people say, like, 10 minutes in the morning is really hard. Like, that's why you heard me go, huh? Like, I just looked up average amount of time people spend on social media a day. If you don't spend time on social media, I tip my hat to you.
Yeah.
2 hours and 31 minutes the average American spends consuming social media, meaning scrolling, or probably mostly scrolling. I think there's people that use social media to we create, a lot of content. Blue Form Media creates a lot of our content as well, and that takes time. But 2 hours and 31 minutes, I really want to use some expletives, right?
Just scrolling,
2 hours
consuming, really,
wow,
right?
2 hours and 31 minutes.
I will tell you this. One time when I was scrolling, I hooked up the HRV monitor just to see, and so if you're doing it to build your skill, that would be different, because that normally induces stress, and I was able to stay in coherence, but that was a different intention, right? Than just like,
well, see,
looking at what
it depends on what you consume, right? My social media is typically full of, the only things I really follow are pages of either motivational things, or, science, or inspirational things. So look, I don't get that weighed down when I look at social media. But a lot of people do. But a lot of people do. But the point is that even if I'm spending time on it and I'm not getting stressed, would that time be better spent doing a meditation? Well, absolutely. It'd be better spent doing a meditation, right? Now, there's things that I learned from social media, right? On these positive outlook pages, on these motivational pages, on these inspirational pages, 100%.
Right.
But there's also balance. So my point is, when people say, well, I don't have 10 minutes, it's like, you do have 10 minutes. Or I don't have an hour to work out. Oh, you could. Just where are your priorities, right? And so that all funnels down and comes back to change, and what are you willing to do, right? But then, so I wanted to bring up, I'm prefacing it, I'll just bring it up. So the other day, I was talking to one of my friends, and he's like, hey, I have this interview tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, how do you feel about it? He's like, dude, I haven't been sleeping well. Like, it's really affecting me. And he knows kind of what we teach, what we profess. And I was like, well, okay. Well, I said, why don't, I'm going to call you tomorrow. His interview was at 12:30. I said, I'm going to call you at like 12:05. He's like, dude, that would be awesome. And so I called him, and here's the difference. This is the difference in change being hard or not being hard. And this is what I was referring to earlier when I say I don't think it's that hard. Here's the difference. If I called this friend and said, hey, dude, how you feeling? It's noon. You got to interview in 30 minutes. And he's like, dude, I'm anxious. I'm kind of having a panic attack. And I was like, well, dude, just think positive. Now, is that hard for him? Absolutely.
Right.
Because that's where Tony Robbins is like, dude, that's bullshit. And that's where, Kevin Dapper is saying that's bullshit, because it's like, if you're in the midst of anxiety or an anxious panic attack, I mean,
It's like
I
telling
can,
someone to calm down.
well, right. Yeah. Hey,
like,
calm down. It's like, screw you. Well, really, because the cortisol production is so high, the heartbeat is so rapid. For me to tell you to think positively or to calm down, I mean, you literally have a 3% chance of that working.
Not only that, I think it actually probably induces more stress, because then you're trying.
Because it angers you.
Yeah.
And so,
amplifies.
in fact, we show that on studies that when you are in an anxious state and you try, like, so your brainwave goes from beta, which is normal operation throughout the day, into high beta of anxiety. Then if somebody tells you to calm down or to, chill out or, take a chill pill, whatever people say, or you try and outthink that anxiety.
Like, I shouldn't be this stressed. I shouldn't be this upset.
What happens is that actually amps up the brainwaves to an even higher beta state.
Yep.
And you're just dumping fuel on the fire. So that's why people say it's hard, because most people don't give the proper ideas or the proper resolution or solution techniques or tools to do that. But this is the difference. So I called him and I'm like, how are you feeling? He goes, dude, yeah, I'm a little anxious. I said, okay, hey, let's do some heart focused breathing together. We, I walked him right through a heart focused breathing, heart focused meditation for about 5-6 minutes, maybe 7 minutes, but 5 to 7 minutes. We were doing heart focused breathing together, focused on gratitude for the opportunity of a, better paying position, focused on being calm, focused on envisioning himself displaying not only the right energy, but also communicating effectively, not stumbling over his words, giving clear responses to the questions that were being asked, right? We visualized that whole thing, but the main point is we got into a balanced, coherent state. Now, at the beginning of the call, he's like, dude, I am anxious. After those 5-7 minutes, he's like, dude, I haven't felt this good in a long time. That's how fast. So change is relevant, right? It's all relevant, and it's all relative.
Yep.
Right? If I said, hey, dude, just calm down, you'll do great. Like, cool. Easier said than done, chief, pal, sport, tiger.
Right.
But instead, because I know the formula, I'm like, hey, dude, let's calm down together. Let's balance that nervous system. Let's open up that heart intelligence, because your heart knows, right? The brain may think, but the heart knows. The heart always knows. Right. So the heart knows. Let's get your brain in alignment. Let's get your frontal cortex opened up. Let's get those ideas flowing. Let's get that foresight opened up. Let's get that intuition flowing. Now you go into that interview and you present yourself in such a positive, energetic state. The interviewer has no choice but to say, wow, unless you're exactly what I'm looking for. And maybe not, right?
Well, unless it's not the right match. But in that case, and you go in, you delivered, a great exchange. You were at the top of your game. You did the best you could. And then if it goes a different way, you're more in a state of acceptance and peace either way, and you're not attached to an outcome.
You're more in a state of coherence.
Yeah, stress comes from being attached to an outcome.
Right.
So it's like,
it's this or something. It's this or something better.
Exactly. I put it out there. I was in a peaceful state. Surely that will come back to me in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and it happens all the time. Did I say that on the call or on the podcast? With one of my other friends at the gym, she was having a rough day, like kind of out of sorts. And we were talking and she was telling me what was going on. And not only did we do some simple heart focused breathing, but then, one of our other friends came up and he's like, look, he works at the gym. And he's like, I need something to do. And she immediately said, go look for 5 people and give them compliments. By the time she was done saying that, she did some breathing for like 30 seconds. And then she said, go find someone and pay him a compliment. Boom. Everything was gone. She felt great, had a great workout. The point is that you are not subject to the emotion or thought that you are feeling and thinking in the moment.
And it can
If
shift
depression
in a
is
heartbeat.
rampant in your life, if anxiety is rampant in your life, choose something else. But to choose, we have, the 4 steps, which is shift your physiology. So do deep heart focused breathing. When you do that, that starts to reset the nervous system by deep rhythmic breathing. Then that's P, physiology, shift your physiology. Second, shift your emotion. We choose every stinking emotion we feel. Now, a lot of them are automatic or autonomic, depending on, the nervous system, but not depending, but because of the nervous system. But then by default and unconscious, right? Or subconscious. There's a couple of words for you. But you can choose to shift out of that. Because if you're unconscious, how do you get conscious? Heart focused breathing, because that brings you to the present moment.
Pay attention.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what's going on. Shift your physiology by heart focused breathing. Then second, shift that emotion. Focus on, if you can't focus on gratitude and appreciation, compassion and care and love and joy, then focus on simple peace, ease, or calm. Breathe that in through your heart. Watch your physiology change in the moment. Watch your tension leave your neck, leave your shoulders, leave your back. Watch your facial expressions change in the mirror. It happens not instantaneously, but very, very quickly. Then shift your thoughts. Start thinking of things that you freaking want. Start thinking of things that you want to create. Stop being subject and victim to the crap you don't want.
Yep.
Shift those thoughts. Use those, we call them ambitious questions, right? Why am I finding it so easy to create in my life? Why is it so easy for me to stay in gratitude? Why can I have everything I want? Because you can. That's why. Then starts shifting your language, right? PTL, pedal. We'll figure it out. Whatever. But shift your language. Start speaking to yourself kindly. Start speaking things into existence. There's a reason that they say that, right? Everyone that's listening to this probably has heard that. Speak it into existence. So start speaking instead of saying, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm this, I'm that, I'm depressed, I'm anxious.
But before you can speak and have it take hold, you've got to shift your physiology.
Right, because affirmations.
You've got to get out of stress, and you've got to change your emotion.
Yep. Because that's why a lot of affirmations don't work. That's why affirmations fall on deaf ears, is because if your brain isn't in a coherent state and it's erratic and it's chaotic because of stress, the brain has a hard time learning that neural pattern when it's in chaos, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna take the time to do an affirmation, then get into coherence first, because it'll stick much faster. So it's going to take you a long time, repetition over a long period of time. If you're in a state of stress, trying to get that to stick, you're trying to convince yourself. But if you can take a minute and get into coherence and then do your affirmation, you'll cut down the back end time of it actually coming to fruition substantially. Right,
because when you're in this heart-brain coherent state, the brain is in a high gamma brainwave state, which is a super learning state. So whatever you are feeling, whatever you are thinking, whatever you are saying is going to start creating new neural patterns in those moments. You start creating new neural patterns, those turn into beliefs. You are a product of your beliefs.
Yeah.
Right?
And your beliefs, again, back to the subconscious mind where we started, was that's running 97% of the time that you're not even thinking about it. So that's, the formula of making this 97% work for you is changing your beliefs so that that's the automatic response, but it's based on what you want, not what you don't want, or what was programmed as a child, right, or what was programmed in trauma. You are changing the program that you're running, and that's what we want. We want to shift that out and have it be on autopilot so that you're doing it without thinking about it, because your behavior matches the beliefs because you're doing it without thinking about it.
Right. And the last major point I wanted to bring up is, after talking about all that, you've heard the phrase, things can change in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. This is what I think. I think that, that maybe that existed before heart math inception of heart rate variability and heart brain coherence in 1992. But the reason things can change in a heartbeat, if you look it up, it's because, things can change in a rapid pace. Heartbeats are very rapid, right? But it's because your heart rate variability or your heartbeats determine your emotional attitudes, which determine your thought patterns and everything like that. So it literally can change in a heartbeat, and you control your heartbeat. Mm-hmm. You control your heartbeat unless you're unconscious, unless you're unaware of what's going on. But if you are aware, you can change your heartbeat any second of every day. Yeah. Any second of any day. Mm-hmm. Or every second of every day. Yeah. I mixed them. But literally, you can change your heartbeat in any second of every day. Like, you can change your heart rate variability, which changes your emotional attitude, which will open up your cognitive functions, make you think better. You're feeling better. You're thinking better. You're creating differently. Your physiology of your body's producing better hormones. You're balanced. Now you're producing so much energy, like those car batteries. Now you can determine, that was the last episode, but now you can determine and start producing what you want to produce. Yeah. If you're struggling with that, if you're struggling with, hey, change is freaking hard. If you're struggling with that, I'm telling you, join our Wednesday calls, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's pretty inexpensive for what it is. I'm telling you.
We talk about this stuff every week.
Join our weekly calls. And not only do we talk about it, but information is crap without application. Mm-hmm. All the information that exists is all wonderful, but unless you're applying it, doesn't mean a damn thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we take it a step further by removing the emotions that are blocking you from receiving it anyway.
And we institute that application with you because we do meditations together, and we actually show better results when you meditate and you get into heart-brain coherence in a group than by yourself. Mm-hmm. It's actually a significant difference. It's a way more powerful difference. Mm-hmm. And people on the call, are in a couple weeks are feeling completely different. So if you think change is hard, I disagree with you. Mm-hmm. Come to our call. Mm-hmm. Call me. Mm-hmm. Message me. We could talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I understand where you're coming from, mm-hmm. because at one point I thought change was hard too. Mm-hmm. Now I watch people change so quickly. Right. I watch their lives change. I watch their expressions change. I watch everything around them change. You control your destiny. You control what's going on in your life. If you're struggling to do that, join our weekly call. Raise your vibration. When your vibration's high, you do anything you want. You attract into your life better things. Vibration always will dictate other vibration. So let's start changing. Let's start bettering ourselves. Let's start growing. Obviously, I'm a little passionate about this. I'm yelling at the microphone. But let's start changing. Let's start growing. Let's start feeling better. Let's start creating better. We need hope in this world. There's too much crap going on, right? We need people sharing their light, not adding to the negativity. So we appreciate you listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for, hearing us out. Implement these things. If change is hard, reach out to us. If you're good, if you're changing daily, we applaud you. If life is beautiful, we applaud you. If it's not, if it could be a little better, again, reach out to us. Schedule an individual session. Join our calls. A lot of different options. We want a community of people that are striving to become better, not just, in one area, but in all areas, in a balanced approach, in emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, relationships, abundance, all of it, right? So, hit us up, ask us questions, join our calls, give it a try. I promise you won't regret it. But again, thank you for listening to the Healing Works podcast, where we try and help you on a weekly basis start to implement these things that will help this change in your life, that will help the growth in your life by opening up your heart and opening up your mind to new possibilities. Have a great day.